Here's a contradiction I lived from both ends. Yuji Krishnamurti was the anti-guru. He refused disciples.
He refused to be anyone's teacher. He said there is no teaching, no teacher, nothing to transmit, and that anyone selling you a path is selling you a crutch.
And me? I lived for years as a disciple. I surrendered to a living guru. I sat at her feet.
I took the energy, the grace, the whole devotional path of giving myself completely to a master. One of us ran from the guru, one of us ran toward one. And we ended up in the same place. Let me show you how, because the answer says something surprising about what a guru is actually for. Start with Yuji's demolition, because no one swung harder at the spiritual establishment. He loved to quote an old line from Advaita Gita: no teaching, no teacher, no taught. He took no students. He let nothing be organized around him. He even renounced ownership of his own words. My teaching has no copyright. Do what you like with it. He even claimed authorship, without my consent or anybody's. No authority, no lineage, no throne. To Yuji, the whole machinery of guru and devotee was a trap. It teaches you that the answer is out there, in someone holier than you, and that if you just surrender hard enough, they'll hand you something you lack. He thought that was exactly backwards. Nobody can give you what you already are. And every hour you spend gazing up at a master is an hour you spend believing you're not it. Run from anyone, he basically said, who wants to stand between you and yourself. Now my side, and I won't apologize for it because it was real. I walked the devotional path. In the Siddha tradition, you surrender to a living guru. That's a lineage. Nityananda, Muktananda, and the living teacher I sat with. You chant, you serve, you give yourself. And there's shaktipat, the transmission of spiritual energy, the guru's grace, said to awaken what's sleeping in you. And here's what the cynics miss. It works. Devotion does something argument can't. And when you pour your whole heart toward a being you're certain embodies the freedom you long for, something in you softens, opens, melts. The walls of the separate self come down, not by force, but by love. Even Nisargadatta, one of the sharpest non-dual minds who ever lived, got there by trusting his guru's word, completely, for 3 years. Surrender was the doorway. So the devotional path isn't foolishness. It's one of the oldest and most powerful technologies of awakening there is. So how do the man who fled all gurus and the man who surrendered to one end up at the same summit? Listen to the one time Yuji actually defined a true guru. He said a guru is one who tells you to throw away all the crutches you've been made to believe are essential for our survival. He asks you to walk, and says that if you fall, you will get up and walk. Sit with that. By Yuji's own definition, the real guru's entire job is to make you not need a guru, to hand you back to your own legs. A true teacher is a crutch that teaches you to throw away crutches, including itself. And that is exactly where the devotional path ends, when it's honest. The whole point of surrendering to the outer guru is to be carried inward, until one day you realize the freedom you were worshiping in the master was never in the master. It was your own being, reflected back to you in a face you trusted enough to love. The guru, in the end, is not a person, it's a principle, your own self, wearing a form long enough to point you home, and then dissolving. So Yuji and the devotional path agree completely. The guru exists to make itself unnecessary. Yuji just refused to be a crutch in the first place, which makes the anti-guru, by his own definition, the purest guru of all. I needed both, and I'll tell you exactly why. The devotion cracked me open. Years of it. The chanting, the service, the grace. I felt the energy move. And eventually I did the thing the path is built for. I took the Guru inside. I installed the inner Guru in my heart. And one day I recognized that I did this. I felt Nityananda inside of me. And I felt that the feeling of being that I felt in him was the feeling of being in myself. I found the master I'd been worshiping was nothing other than my actual own self. But there was a trap waiting in all that beauty, the very one Yuji warned us about. As long as the Guru was still, even slightly out there, being a being holier than me, a grace I was waiting to receive, I was still a devotee, looking up, still believing the gold was in someone else's hands. The devotional path walked me all the way to the edge of the cliff. It brought me to the very brink of recognizing the self. And then Yuji, the man who refused to be anyone's guru, who handed me no grace and no crutch at all, pushed me off. There's no one out there. There's nothing to receive. Stand on nothing. Be what you already are. The surrender carried me to the edge. The anti-guru pushed. And I fell into the only thing that was ever actually mine.
So, run from the Guru or surrender to one? What do? Both. Surrender to whatever cracks you open and walks you to the edge. And then find the voice, Yuji's or this channel's, or your own. The voice that refuses to let you keep leaning and pushes. Because the best guru and the anti-guru are saying the same thing. Throw away that crutch. You can walk. You always could. If this is your kind of search, subscribe and sit with me next time. And where all of this left me is in my books. I do not exist, and neither do you. I don't care. Linked in the description. Until next time, stop looking up.